Hi, this is Cynthia. We're doing a massage on Sam today. So draping as always, making sure the client feels safe and secure. We have a new gun slinger massage bottle holder and effleurage to make sure that the lotion is on the leg. Effleurage, contact with the palms. Sam's body is quite muscular, so that means that I can push in a little bit deeper on the palms and on the hamstrings. Making sure not to go too deep, too fast. We don't want to hurt the client. And if you like our videos, please subscribe. The subscription box is down below. Doing knuckle circles. Making sure to keep the hands loose as possible. If you go like this, your hands will feel really, really tight. They'll get sore. So keeping the hands loose. And it also gives a less harsh feel to the massage. Working on the soleus, the gastrocs, working on popliteus soon. Popliteus is the muscle behind the knee. We're pressing in gently. As gentle as possible. While still being firm enough that the client actually feels it, because the gastrocs goes all the way into the back of the knee and the hamstring goes into the back of the knee. So popliteus is the third muscle. It's deep. Is that sore, Sam?
It's good.
It's good? Okay. Beautiful. And one more set of thumb press into the popliteus. This time we're reinforcing it because the hamstring seems a little bit tighter up here than just popliteus. There we go. Fist stripping gently with the fist in lines up the hamstring, lateral, central, and medial hamstring. As always with anyone, we watch for varicose veins because we don't want to go across varicosities. Sam doesn't have any, but with people who do, we have to be very, very light on the pressure or entirely avoid them. Varicosities are a real problem because I can't suggest legs up the wall because they already usually have a heart condition. So we just have to be super gentle with them. There are some therapies with doctors that will get rid of the varicosities, but it doesn't mean they get rid of them, it just means they hide them from the surface. And knuckle circles. Let's go to the feet now. Sometimes the feet are challenging because people's feet are very ticklish. Palmar circles, palmar kneading, down into 5 lines. First toe, second and third toe, fourth toe, and fifth toe. We'll do that again, this time with the thumb. Big toe, pointer toe, middle toe, fourth toe, and pinky toe. Thumb circles on the heel. There's no cracks or anything on Sam's heels, so that makes it easier. Sometimes it's hard to work when the foot is super cracked because it may crack and bleed. And we want to make sure that we don't make a client bleed because that's unsafe. Palmar press. And fist circles or knuckle circles. Going up the body of the gastrocs. To the hamstring. Next, we're going to stretch gastrocs and soleus. So I gently lift Sam's leg. And push down on the ankle, making sure, because often this Achilles tendon is very, very tight and you'll hear a gristly sound. You don't want to hear a gristly sound because it can mean that you're pulling the tendon, and that's not okay. There we go. And now heel to the glute to stretch the quad. Does that hurt your low back at all?
No.
Beautiful. Sometimes it does, and then we have to work into the glute and into the low back. We're going to do that anyway today, but we just want to make sure. And down to fist circles. Keeping the hands soft. Keeping the hamstring soft hands. And effleurage to complete. Effleurage to complete. And gently lift Sam's leg. Thank you. And redrape. And then we're working on the glutes. Open palm. I've heard some discussion about using an open palm, but since he's not completely undraped with the glutes exposed, I don't have a problem with using an open palm. Some people will use a fist, and I find that that fist causes strain on the arm. So I use my palm instead. That actually might look like there's a lot of tension on the wrist, but the pressure is coming from right here in the metacarpals. I suppose each to their own. I've been doing this for 25 years now, so I want to make sure that I'm never hurting myself, and I'm always using enough pressure without using super deep to the point of hurting my elbows or hurting my wrists. Using my elbow in the glute, forearm, resting on my other arm, and gently breathing out, keeping my pace of my breath slow so that I'm in tune with how the client is breathing. If I breathe too heavy or it's too physically hard for me, my movement goes along with the breath, and it's not as really relaxing for the client. Elbow into the sacrum, going around the sacrum, into the inferior posterior iliac spine, the ischium, around on the side. We have the glute med. Being able to stand like a flamingo is the glute med. And we'll start with thumb circles. So thumb pressing into the glutes. Again, I would probably use my hand like this if I had the client undraped, so that I didn't stick my hands into the cleft of the buttocks. But since Sam is draped, I just keep my hand out like this, because it's actually easier on my thumb to keep my hands straight than to bend them. Recentering my own breath, because sometimes when you're doing a lot of thumb presses, your heart rate goes up. So we're just on the L5 right here. We want to move to the side so that we're not pressing on the bone. I can landmark pretty easily, even though I don't see the draping, or I guess the draping is still there. What we don't want is we don't want to play on bone. We don't want to massage on bone. It's very painful. We're working now on the QL, quadratus lumborum. Let's move into this side. moving into the side of the QL right there. So the muscle is right here, moving into the side of it. Palmar kneading across the traps, across the lats, across the rhomboids. A bit of a tight upper back. Sam is a programmer or works on computers, so we know that there's lots of computer work. In terms of assessing things, it doesn't mean that we only concentrate on the upper back. We also concentrate on the rotator cuffs, the low back, wherever we feel tension. Tension is characterized under my hands by a tightness in the muscle. Sometimes I'll feel a wetness in the muscle. A cold wetness means deep, old inflammation, chronic inflammation. A hot and wet muscle will feel like acute inflammation or recent inflammation, like a recent injury. Sometimes I can feel a boniness, something like the bone is laying down, the muscle is laying down like a bony calcified tissue because it's so injured that it's laying down that kind of hard, gritty texture. And then just a tightness in the muscle. I can feel all of those in my hands, my forearms, and my elbows. Going back to the QL a little bit out now, still on the QL, but just a little bit further away. There we go. And we're in the 12th third now. You can feel it. That's not comfortable. So we're going to put some lotion on my hands and effleurage the back. Tucking the blanket in, sheet in. Reinforced. Fingers layered on top of each other to work out the paraspinals. Going to the side of the paraspinals, and now we're in rhomboids. Still the rhomboids into the traps. and out to the lats, and then into serratus, which is a very uncomfortable muscle to massage, but we're going to work on it today. Again, paraspinals, rhomboid trap, lats, and into serratus down here. And into teres, almost intend for spinatus, resting gently, going a little bit deeper. We're soon going to use my forearm and my elbow on the paraspinals. And putting my hand where I can brace myself so that my posture is not so much a lean as it is protecting myself by kind of hitting over this elbow, leaning onto the elbow, and moving forward. And what I mean by that is a lot of massage therapists will go into it and be in a curved situation where they'll curve their low back a lot and their mid back, and then they'll be in a lot of pain. And as I said, I've been doing this for 25 years, about 20 clients a week, between 20 and 25. You don't want to be in pain doing this. So my arm braces me so that I can keep upright, and I'm using my legs to go down, not so much my low back, although a little bit of my low back. Beautiful. We remove lotion and effleurage. Effleurage the paraspinals up to latissimus or lats, down to serratus. And let's work serratus. Going across, we'll use this thumb. It's easier. Go. Across the ribs. So obviously we had a mole there, and we don't want to push on it. We don't want to potentially break the skin or hurt and injure the tissue. So we're pressing, and we're kind of jumping with the thumb on top of it so that we don't actually push in the wrong direction. So I'm pretty balanced. I can do this with just bending my low back and bending my knees and moving into it. But this is not for the faint of heart because you can easily fall if you're not super balanced. So I might put a hand here if I'm not as balanced. Here we go. To the traps with my elbow. We're not having a super bent elbow because that's just too pokey. We're bending it a little bit so that it doesn't feel so pokey to the client. That's uncomfortable to be poked with an elbow. To the glutes now, palmar kneadings. Again, open palm. Thumb circles into the glutes. Working along the side of the glute. The TFL is right here. Piriformis is right here. This is what most people get stuck on. If this muscle gets really tight and pushes on the nerve, you'll have sciatic pain. Again, palmar kneadings to complete. Draping. And motion to effleurage the leg. Reinforced hand over top of the palm. To get as much pressure without a hard feeling like a knuckle. And we'll do some thumb stripping on the outside of the gastrocs, all the way to the center of the soleus. Still on the gastrocs now. Moving towards the soleus. There we go. To the outside of the gastrocs again. This time with the fingers because it's hard. This is an uncomfortable motion, getting all the way over here. That is not super efficient with my posture, so we're going to use this muscle, or these fingers instead. And working into popliteus with my thumbs. Again, on top of the hamstring, into popliteus. Reinforcing the thumb because the hamstring here is much tighter. It's harder to go deep without hyperextending the thumb. This is much harder if the practitioner is double jointed. We'll talk about that. In double jointed situations, we want to make sure that we're reinforcing over top of the thumb and we're pushing with the top. Moving on to the heel of the foot. Warming up the lotion. It's not a super cold day today, but it is very uncomfortable to get cold lotion on your feet. Thumb circles all the way down to the metatarsals or the foot fingers in Hindi. And coming down into 5 lines. Pinky, 4th toe, line, center line, pointer toe, and toe thumb, or big toe. Again, moving into a stretch for gastrocs. Oh. Sam? Stretching the gastrocs and soleus. And again, heel to glute. Does that hurt your low back at all, Sam?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay, good.
I should let you know I have an L5S1.
Okay.
I slipped this back in the day.
Okay.
We're talking forever ago, but
yeah,
it's generally okay now.
Good. It's always important that if a client reminds you of their medical history, to make notes of it. We already have notes, but always important. I'm going to get you, actually I'm going to turn down the lights. I'm going to get you to turn over, Sam. And move down a little bit so your head's on the table. Head's on the table.
Oh, on the table.
Yeah. Here we go. And I'll get you a pillow. Because it's more comfortable that way. Get you to lift your head. Perfect. There we go. I'm going to place this half bolster underneath the knees. And we will start on this side. Legs first. We're doing a different sequence than we usually do because, well, that's just how it's working out today. Effleurage on the quad, back to the tibialis anterior, thumb pressing, stripping into the muscle. And peroneus. Thumb circles into the patella, working on the quad attachment. And fist circles, or knuckle circles, but gentle hands, gentle open hands. Effleurage. And we will move up to the arm. Some clients will lift, some clients you lift them. I find it's easier to lift them because they're able to stay more rested than staying awake. Go. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Lotion on the hand, the forearm, the bicep, the tricep, and effleurage. You can see me moving as if I am doing Tai Chi. It's actually really important because this table is a little bit low for me today, but it's easier to have a lower table for the client to get on. So making sure that I am bending in a comfortable way for my low back and for my neck. 5 lines on the hands. And pulling the fingers, not to the point where you release the gas to make the knuckles crack, but just a little bit. Release the fingers and strip the forearms with the thumbs. The wrist extensors here. And we'll go to the wrist flexors in just a minute. Turn over the arm. Thank you. And this is a good one. The thenar, which is this, here on the bottom of the thumb. Pulling it and kind of breaking the bread. If you've ever broken bread, that's the motion that you're making. Hands gently but firmly to the wrist flexors and stripping them. These are often pretty tight on people who work in offices, but we don't want to dig into them at first. We want to warm them up before we go a little bit deeper. And I'm using the blade or the side of my thumb here because it gives me more surface area than using here, just my thumb. That's too much pressure on my thumb. So I'm using the side of my thumb. Beautiful. Arm out to the side a little bit so that we're working out the pec and the stretch at the same time. And from the bicep out, stretching the bicep all the way. If the pec is super involved, we're going in here, but it's not super involved in Sam, so we're just doing it for show, not for effectiveness. Picking up the pec muscle and pinching a little bit between the thumb and the fingers. You can see the thumb there and the fingers to get that to release. Beautiful. Then we have the outside of the tricep with my thumb. Outside of the tricep with my thumb. And outside of the tricep with my thumb. I'm going to set up the headrest. So I'm just going to take, there's enough support there. Just a minute. Take that out. There we go. Don't want people's heads to fall. That would be very uncomfortable. Kind of neurotic. It's very uncomfortable. And as our due diligence as massage therapists, if someone has lots of moles, we always make sure that they're seeing a dermatologist or their doctor to make sure that they are screening for melanomas and cancers, because we don't want those. I have actually had someone that turned out that they had a benign tumor, not a malignant tumor. And I think that's really important to note, that we are medical professionals, so if we see something, that we always make sure, not on camera, but find behind the privacy of our patient medical practitioner confidentiality, that we're making sure that we ask those questions. And lifting up gently. Turning Sam's head gently so that we are able to massage all the way up the scalenes. Tight, probably because of phone addictions. I have a phone addiction. It's pretty crazy. I spend about 8 hours a day on my phone. That is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Other side. Releasing into the muscle as the muscle becomes more pliable. Just my fingers, you can see here, they're going in a little bit more. They're able to go a little bit deeper. We don't start with that. That can hurt the client. face massage, finger circles, all the way up to the temples. Sam, is it okay if I massage your scalp?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. We want to ask someone if they have their hair nicely done, because some people have other places to go. They don't want to look all disheveled. I sometimes call it massage drunk. You look just a little bit relaxed. Actually super relaxed. Pinching the eyebrows, in the bone. There's a bone underneath the eyebrows, and we're pinching in between that bone and the top of the brow. And we're doing finger circles on the muscle called the masseter. Masseter is part of the TMJ, temporal mandibular joint. What that means is that the masseter controls chewing. It also controls clenching. If you can get this muscle to relax, a client probably clenches less. As always, we don't take the position that we are smarter than dentists, but we ask the client if they're a clencher, if they have a mouth guard, to make sure that they're not damaging their molars. The masseter moves and clenches at 1,000 pounds per square inch. That is a lot of pressure put on those teeth. We're going to move to the ears. The ears have acupressure points all over them. There's actually a whole body in the Chinese medical system in each ear. And you can put beads on the ears, kind of like thumbtacks with tiny little tacks that you rub, and you get rid of chronic pain or acute injuries in the energy system of the organ. I'm going to just rest Sam's right arm on my leg and effleurage with one hand. Effleurage and the hands. 5 lines for the hand. And pulling gently to release the joints, but not to pop the joints. Just because sometimes clients get scared if you pop their joints. It's not super comfortable. There we go. Awesome. And wrist extensors. Is much tighter than the other side. I'm just going to do some thumb circles across that tight muscle in a crosswise pattern over the muscle, so that we're kind of stretching it at the same time we're moving on it. Turn the hand, and we have the thenar, which is the thumb muscle, pulling out and breaking bread. Pulling on the hands, the fingers, and the wrist flexors. into stretching out the pec muscle, stretching out the shoulder, stretching out the bicep with palmar kneadings. Putting the arm down so that we can work on the tricep with the thumb, gently but firmly. And when I say that, it's for deep tissue, therapeutic, and relaxation massage. You never want to be touching the client so gently that it feels ticklish. That's really uncomfortable for them. But you also don't want to go so deep, so fast that the muscle reacts by tensing up. And we will move to the leg. Draping the leg. Here, Sam has lifted up his shoulders, thankfully, a little bit, so we can drape it a little bit higher. And we have it locked. Effleurage across tibialis anterior and peroneals, up into the quad, up into the IT band. Again. And we're going to go into tibialis anterior, right here, across the bone, pushing the muscle away from the bone actually, right here, tibant with the thumbs reinforced. And then we'll work on peroneus. Muscle is here on the other side, a little bit tighter. And thumb circles on the knee. Thumb circles on the knee. Flowing so that the hand is moving with the thumb. If you keep the thumb and the wrist straight, it won't move super well. You'll feel tension starting here in the wrist. So we're moving and we're turning the hand. Easily flowing with the body. We can feel tension in the quads. These are strong muscles. So it's probably more muscular, just bulk, which is a good thing. And the IT band. And this IT band feels tight on this side. So we're going to go with my thumb and go across it. You can see on Sam, it actually makes a line. And you can go right into that IT band. It's very, very defined, which is really cool to watch. And we'll finish with effleurage to relax the leg, client,